Hello artists, this is Miss Bavier from Downtown Elementary, and I'm going to show you a few things about your Paint 3D app that you have on your tablet. So first of all, we're going to find our Paint 3D app. So you're going to go down and you're going to click on the little window in the corner, and you are going to scroll down. This is where all your apps are, and we're going to look for Paint 3D. There it is. I'm going to click on Paint 3D, and that's going to open up your app. So we're going to click on New because we want to start a new project, and we can zoom in by using our two fingers, or we can zoom in or out up there as well. Okay, so I'm just going to show you your different drawing tools here. I'm going to show you some 2D shapes. I'm going to show you stickers and how to add text. And maybe later we'll get into the 3D shapes. All right, so you have your different drawing tools here. You've got your colors down here. This is on our first page. And we are going to just play with these different drawing tools. So that's what I would do first, is just kind of mess around with it, play with those different drawing tools. If you want a different color, you can click down here and you will change it to a different color. If you want to make something thicker, you can make it thicker using this here. So I've got a thicker marker now. All right, so your different drawing tools, you've got your marker, you've got a calligraphy pen that kind of does fancy lines. You've got a oil paint brush, and this is kind of cool to, you can do like a Van Gogh kind of brush strokes. But the oil paint brush has a lot of texture, so it really kind of looks like oil paint. All right. This is a watercolor brush. And with some of these, you can adjust the opacity too. So if you want it to be more solid, more of a solid color, you can turn the opacity up. Or if you want it to be lighter, more transparent, you can turn your opacity down, and it's gonna make more of a lighter watercolor technique. You've got a thin pen here and a pencil. It's like a graphite kind of gray pencil. Eraser tool. So if you want to just erase part of what you've done, you can use the eraser tool, and you can make it thicker to erase more, or thinner to erase little tiny details. Here's your crayon. So with your crayon, I'm gonna make this a little thicker. You can layer colors. The texture of the crayon is pretty cool. And here's your spray can. So it's like a airbrush or spray paint. And you can adjust the opacity there as well. Okay, I really like to do layering, and you can layer with your spray can and your watercolor really well. So say you wanted to mix some colors. So if you have red and you get your yellow, and adjust the opacity, you can just layer them up and get kind of a orange color there. All right, I'm gonna try, let's see, red and blue. Red and blue gives me purple, and I need to do blue and yellow. I can get green. So you can mix your secondary colors that way. You can also do that with your watercolor. Okay, I'll just do one real quick here. All right. I'll show you the colors here. So you've got a kind of a limited color palette here, but you can add colors by pressing the little plus sign, and you'll have a screen that shows up with a little spectrum, so you can pick any color along that spectrum, and then you can pick the value that you want in there. So if you really like that color, you can click OK and it will add it to your palette down here. And I'm not going to do that because this is not my tablet. But that's a kind of a cool thing to get really specific colors. So I'm going to cancel that. All right, I'm going to show you how to use the fill tool in just a minute. So let me get a new screen, and I was just playing with this, so I'm just going to go to menu over here, and then I'm going to click new to get a new screen, and it's going to ask me if I want to save. I don't want to save because I was just playing around there and I don't need to keep that. I'll show you how to save things in a few minutes. Okay, so fill tool. You can pick a drawing tool. I'm going to use a marker and I'm going to do black outlines, and I want them to be kind of thin. So the important thing to remember with the fill tool is that when you draw your shapes, you've got to make sure they are enclosed. So I've got kind of just a free-form blob there, and I'll draw another one here. Now, that's not quite a shape, is it? That's just a line that's close to being a shape, but not quite. So I'm going to show you what happens if we try to fill that. So I'm going to click my bucket, my fill tool, and I'm going to pick colors. So I'm going to color that shape in, and that worked great. Now I'm going to pick blue, and I'm going to try to color this. Oops. So that shape was not really a shape. There was a gap there, and so that paint could get out into the background. So we're going to try to fix it, and I'm going to show you how to use the undo. So anytime you do something that you want to go back and change, you can click the undo and it will go back a step. So if you want to go back a few steps like that, you just keep clicking it. Now if you go back too far, you can click the redo button, and that's going to bring back the step that you want to bring back. Okay. So I'm going to draw another shape. I'm going to make sure this one is enclosed. Okay, now I'm going to do fill tool. And you can also color your background in with the fill tool. Okay, I'm going to get a new canvas. I don't want to save that. And I'm going to show you some of your shapes. So instead of being on the brushes page, we're on the 2D shapes page now. So you have some lines here and you have some geometric shapes. So you can click on your lines and you can drag a nice straight line across your paper. Now you've got two options here. You can click check if you only want one of those, or if you want to stamp it, you can move, you can stamp, and then you can move this box over, and it's going to give you another one just like that one. Stamp, move it over. Now, if you want it to be a little different, you can still change, I think you can. Well, you can change it a little bit before you stamp it. Whoops, I kind of messed it up there. So we'll just go back. Let's just do a different one. Here's a curved line. Oops. So if you touch outside the box, it's going to go ahead and assume you want to keep that. So that's what happened just then. All right, you can change your lines, bend them. And this time I just want one of those. So I'm going to click the check mark. Do a nice wavy line here. Oops. Well, sometimes you just have to play with it and figure out what's what. Yeah, there we go. So you kind of have to get right on those dots in order to move that line the way you want. Okay, so you can play with those different kinds of lines, and then they're the shapes too. So well, let's just go back and I'll show you how to use your shapes. So just click on the shape you want, click on the screen, and you can adjust it, and you can rotate it if you want. And when it's the way you want it, you can either click the check if you want one, or if you want more than one circle, you can stamp it, move move it over, adjust it the way you want it. Oops. And I must have done something wrong there, so. All right. So I'm gonna try to do a few circles. Okay, let me show you this. So my check mark went off the screen, but if I click anywhere like that, it will do the same thing. So, all right, I'm gonna put a few squares in. Well, rotate. All right, I'll do a couple triangles. All right, now, so now if you want to color your shapes, you can go back to your brushes. You can get your fill tool and pick the color that you want to use to start filling your shapes up, and just click on those spaces that you want to fill. So this is a pretty easy way to start practicing. Oops, I don't want to do that because that's touching another green. Oops, so is that one. All right, I'm just going to show you a few things, and I'll show you how you can save your work. All right. Oh, if you have a little tiny thing like that, it's best to zoom in so you can see it better. Then you can really do those little details. Anytime you, oops, see I touched a line there, so I want to undo that. Anytime you are working in a little detailed spot, it's best to zoom in. Okay, so if you want to keep a project, you can go to Menu, and you can go to Save As, Image, and you're going to name it. So it says Untitled right now, but I'm going to name this Geometric Shapes. All right, and I would click Save if I wanted to save that. And again, this is not mine, so I'm not going to save that. But if you were doing a project for art class, you could name your project whatever the project was. So if you had a project called Geometric Shapes, name it Geometric Shapes, save it. Then when you go to turn your work in, so in Teams, you would go into Assignments, and you could click on Upload Image, and then it would let you look for different images. So you could go into where pictures are and look for your file named Geometric Shape, upload that, and turn your work in. So we're going to cancel saving. Okay. I'll just show you a couple more things here. I don't want to save that. Oops, I closed the whole thing. So again, down to the windows and Paint 3D, new. Yeah, so if you want to close the whole app, of course, you can click that X there, which is what I did just then, not thinking about what I was doing. All right, so I'm going to show you how to use stickers. So I'm first going to draw just a funny little monster here. So I've got a black marker. I want it to be pretty thin. It's already pretty thin. Okay, so let's see. I want to make sure, oops, I don't like that line. I want to make sure that my lines are connected, which they are not. Okay, so they're not exactly connected, but we're going to see how that's going to work in a minute here. You know, it's a little hard to draw with your finger. One thing you could try to do is zoom in if you wanted to do something detailed. I'm just doing something really quick here, but so if you really wanted to carefully connect your lines, you could zoom in and really get them just right. Another thing that might be helpful is if you have a stylus. So if you can get a stylus, you can order those online. They're only about $10. That would be a good thing to have for this. All right, so I'm gonna use the fill tool and we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna put my tolerance down low. That's like the sensitivity. So if I turn it down low, then I may be able to fill these almost shapes. I'm hoping that will work. Let's just see here. Nope. All right, well, that one's not working either. So maybe I do need to go back and really connect these lines. So let's just zoom in. All right. Connect. I'm not going to worry about his little stripes and things, but I do want to make sure he is one solid shape. All right, so maybe I'll make him green. Oops. Fill tool, green. Yeah. All right, good enough, I guess, for the demo. All right, so there's my little basic monster shape there. And I'm gonna go now to stickers, and I'm gonna show you just some real simple things you can do with stickers. So you've got some textures and you've got some little cute little eyeballs and things, rainbows and stuff. So if you want to give them a face, and you'd like to, of course you could draw it on there, but if you want to use the stickers, you can select an eye. It's way too big. Whoops. All right, eye. I'm going to put an eye there. Now, if your eye is too big, you can zoom or just make it smaller. So you want to use the corner of the box, and I was using 2 fingers. That did not work very well. All right, now I know I need 2 eyes, or maybe you want more. Maybe I'll give him 3 eyes, actually. So I'm going to stamp, and then I'm going to move it over. And I'll give him make him a 3-eyed monster. All right, why not? Okay. Actually, that's going to be too many, so I'm going to undo the last one. All right, now I'll give him a mouth. So there we go. Make it a little smaller. Move it into the right place. And I only want 1 mouth, so I'm going to click the check. Now, if you want to give him some fur, you can go to your textures here and select the fur. All right, so I've got a little patch of fur there, and I'm gonna make it smaller, and I want him to have a lot of fur, so I'm just stamping it. All right. So there's my little furry monster. Of course, you could add whatever you wanted to make him fun and interesting. All right, if you want to, so I was in stickers, and if you want to add text to something, if you're illustrating a story or a poem, or just want to have some words in your art, you can use the text. And we're just going to use 2D text. We're not going to try to do the 3D text. Of course, you've got different kinds of fonts here. And I'll just use that one. And you can select the size of your font and make it bold if you want. So you're going to touch the screen. That's going to give you a text box that you can hopefully move around. I'm having a little trouble with that. Okay, and then just type what you want to put in it. Okay. right. So there's all kinds of different things you could do, just knowing those few things. So, you know, I just really recommend starting with just playing with those different drawing tools and your 2D shapes, and then possibly, you know, doing some fun stuff with stickers and things. All right, well, have a good time working with your Paint 3D app.